From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update.
American Door Company has been family-owned and operated for over 29 years, supplying Northern California with quality garage doors, garage door openers, and installed with the best service you'd expect from a locally owned company. We serve all of Northern California from Willows all the way up to the Oregon state line. Give us a call today.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Krueger. Thank you so much for joining us here for your evening update. We're going to take a look at all the latest forecast model data, what we can expect when it comes to rain and snow as we're getting closer to the time frame of that storm system moving on in. Let's start with your weather headlines. It's dry and mild through Thursday. Low clouds, fog returning to the coast here for tonight and into tomorrow. That'll continue into your Thursday. And the showers, they're going to be making their way here by the time we get into Thursday night, and then kind of overspreading the region through the day on Friday. Now, this wet weather pattern we're talking about, it'll continue through the weekend and could potentially last into early next week as well. So a lot to dive into. Before we get to that, here's a look at Krueger's Quickcast. For those of you that are in a hurry and just want to know what to expect tonight and tomorrow for your Tuesday night, January 28th. All right, here's a look at your forecast for tonight into tomorrow morning. I think we'll see some upper 20s, low 30s here for parts of the valley. Could see some widespread frost across the region. Teens and 20s for the higher elevations. I do expect some of that fog developing tonight, eventually making its way in the morning hours for all of the coast. Out the door tomorrow morning. A chilly start again. Temperatures in the low 30s, even possibly some upper 20s for parts of the valley. Teens and 20s for the higher elevations, and cold for the north coast with temperatures in the mid to even upper 30s. So the ridge of high pressure is not quite of a prominent arc that we saw earlier today. So what that tells us, we've got a storm system right here that's going to kind of ride over that. But what's happening is this ridge, the overall pattern we've been dealing with here for the last 3 weeks or so, is what we call a blocking ridge of high pressure. This ridge blocks any storms from coming in. So what's happening now is this ridge is eventually going to shift to the east, and it's going to allow any storms over the Pacific to move on in. And that means more rain and even some snow in the higher elevations. So again, that fog developing tonight and tomorrow morning, as you can see right here. It'll probably get even more dense through the day on Wednesday, as you can see here, even making its way into some of those inland valleys. And then, of course, as we take you into your Thursday, more of that. All right, so here's what we have here for your Wednesday. Sunny skies for everyone with the exception of the coast, where you're seeing those low clouds and some fog out there, and maybe even a little bit of mist out there too for the coast. But otherwise, temperatures in the 40s, even some low 50s for the higher elevations. Upper 50s, some of us may touch that 60-degree mark in the valley here for Wednesday. And then, of course, a little bit cooler as we take you out to the coast with, of course, that fog throughout the day. All right, so let's take a look at your 7-day outlook. And look at this. We're getting a 7-day forecast where we've got more rain in the forecast than dry conditions. And we'll be here by Thursday night into Friday, off and on through Monday. And then I think we're going to start to see those chances diminish a little bit here as we go into early next week. But of course, a lot can happen between now and then. We'll have to fine tune the forecast as we go into Monday, Tuesday, but pretty confident that we've got some wet weather here for Friday and through the weekend. Taking a look at Mount Shasta, Alturas, and Susanville. Snow levels starting off fairly low, but then they will start to climb here as we go into the weekend and into early next week, and we'll explain why here in your deeper dive forecast. All right, so that is Krueger's Quickcast. Now stick around if you want to go deeper dive. We'll talk about the rain, we'll talk about the snow, the timing, how much rain and snow we can expect. There's a lot to dive into. But before we do that, do want to remind you, there is a free 24-hour streaming channel. It's available on every platform that I offer here at Weather NorCal, from the free Weather NorCal app, from the website, on YouTube, Fire Stick, Roku. Just search for Weather NorCal, and you can watch the 24-hour streaming channel. Now, what I like about the YouTube channel is not only can you watch the streaming channel, but you can also, on demand, watch the latest weather forecast. So check it out, the free 24-hour streaming channel. All right, again, so there you can see, of course, that big ridge of high pressure. It's flattening out a little bit here and will eventually shift to the east later this week, allowing these storms to move in. Now, as the storm system approaches, the winds will pick up. Not necessarily tomorrow, but by Thursday, we're starting to see them, especially for the coast, especially for central Siskiyou County, but even a little bit breezy here for the valley. And then you can see as we go into Friday morning, now it's really starting to ramp up. Now you're talking over 30 miles per hour for the coast, pretty gusty winds for some of those mountain ridge tops. Not as bad for the valley, but there you can see we're getting upwards of around 20 miles per hour in some cases here, and that may get stronger here as we go into Friday afternoon and even into parts of your weekend as well. All right, so let's walk you through the timing of the first chances for rain and snow moving into the forecast. Of course, obviously not tomorrow. We've been talking about that, but we do have that fog developing through the day on Wednesday. Low clouds and fog, even making its way into some of those inland valleys, but sunny everywhere else for your Wednesday. Then on Thursday, we're going to take you all the way through about noon on Thursday. We'll start to see some high clouds in advance of the storm system, but it's still dry at this point. Maybe some light showers by late afternoon, early evening for the coast. But the main band of rain still off to our west. Then we go into Thursday night. Now the rain is overspreading the region. Winds are starting to pick up. Snow levels somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 feet. So as we go into the overnight hours and even into Friday morning, now we're seeing some of that heavier snow in some of the higher elevations. So places like Mount Shasta City, yes, you could see some snow. We could also be dealing with the potential for chain requirements, something we haven't talked about for a while, mainly above, say, 3,500 feet. So yeah, even on I-5, there may be that potential. Then, of course, east of I-5, plenty of chain requirements are expected there as well. That's Friday morning. But I do expect as we go through the day on Friday, in particular over the weekend, those snow levels will start to climb. And the reason being is this is all warmer subtropical moisture moving in, but colder air is trapped at this point. That's why we're seeing the lower snow levels. Eventually, though, this will mix out that colder air and those snow levels will start to rise as a result. More on that longer range here in just a bit, but we do expect longer range, cooler than normal temperatures. And check this out. When we take a look at the precipitation outlook, yeah, wetter than normal conditions. And really for most of Northern California, with unfortunately the exception of Southern California. But look at us, we're getting in the darker shades of green. The darker the shade of green, the better the chances we have of seeing above normal rainfall. So let's keep those greens getting darker and darker. So the ridge of high pressure is shifting off to the east here, but still on top of us on Wednesday and even parts of Thursday. But then by Thursday night into Friday, that shifts off to the east. Now we're allowing that first band of rain to move in. Now there's a bit of a break here as we go into Friday night into Saturday, but what you'll notice here as we go into Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, look what's happening. It's just this constant stream of moisture coming in. How is that defined? Yes, an atmospheric river or a pineapple express, whatever you want to call it. But we've got this source of moisture coming in, and that's really going to help to give us a good amount of rain and, of course, snow in the higher elevations. Now, what I'm seeing here as we go to Monday, Tuesday, we've got this area of low pressure which will dive to the south. The positioning of this low and whether or not it has any moisture to work with will really be the key as to whether or not we see rain and snow. But it does look like we will see some chances for showers come Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. And with this colder air moving in, we'll probably start to lower those snow levels as well. So kind of a bit to figure out here and kind of iron out as we go into early next week. Let's get through the weekend first, shall we? So it's been very dry. You've got the brown color indicating the drier conditions. Now, that's been the case here for the last 3 weeks. But look at this. There's that atmospheric river coming right on in. Now, there's Friday. The main band is right here. And then, of course, it veers off to the east. And then we kind of see it reposition itself Saturday, Sunday, and then as we go into Monday, Tuesday, look what happens. You see how it shifts down to the south, and that colder air is streaming down to the south, helping kind of push that down to the south as well. So not as much moisture to work with as we go into your Tuesday, Wednesday, but there may be enough available moisture for us to see a few light showers and even some snow flurries for some of the higher elevations. But at this point, it doesn't look like anything major, but stay tuned because that could change. So I mentioned atmospheric river. And if you're new to Weather NorCal, this is something I've been talking about here today, is that I don't use the term atmospheric river as a scare tactic, not to be dramatic or to get you to watch or to click or whatever. I do it as a forecasting tool and as a way to tell the story. Because yeah, we can tell you there's a storm system heading away, but is there enough moisture? Well, an atmospheric river is going to tell you a couple of things. Number one, yes, there'll be plenty of moisture. It'll be this hose of, or this narrow stream of moisture aimed right at Northern California. That's the moisture the storm system has to work with. But number two, since it's a subtropical moisture, it's warmer. So that means you're going to be looking at higher snow levels with that as well. But a couple of things we got to look at. Atmosphere, also, one of the things you may not hear about very often is there are actually categories of atmospheric rivers. Atmospheric river 1 all the way up to 5. 5, of course, being the strongest. If you watched yesterday, the last few days, we've been mainly in the blue, atmospheric river 1. But today, we've progressively seen it get stronger and stronger as we go into the weekend. And not only are we getting the AR2, but it is inching closer and closer to AR3. So this poses the potential for a few problems when we're dealing with that. All right, first and foremost, let's talk about these different categories. AR1 means, yeah, it's primarily beneficial rainfall. It's just good old-fashioned rain, and we don't have to worry about anything else. However, as you start getting into atmospheric river 2, you've got a balance of beneficial and hazardous. Now what that means is we've got the rain, much needed rainfall, but there could be the potential for some localized flooding, minor flooding, and maybe some mudslides and debris flows. As you get into 3, it's mostly beneficial but also hazardous. So now you have better chances of seeing those hazards, flooding, mudslides, debris flows. So we're kind of going into the atmospheric river 2, so I can't rule out, and some of the things that I am watching here is the potential for mudslides and debris flows, areas of minor flooding as we go into the weekend, but also on top of that, heavy snow, but that's mainly going to be above 6,000 feet. So that's where I think most of the travel concerns will be, is on those higher mountain passes, especially as we do go through the weekend. But also some gusty winds at times, especially for Friday, Saturday, even into Sunday, that could potentially lead to a few power outages as well. So a few things, as we start getting into atmospheric river 2, that's when we got to start watching the potential for all of these things right here. All right, let's talk about that rainfall. And, this is kind of going out 7 days, so these numbers are most likely going to change, but you can see the overall trend. Most of it is to the north and west of the valley. You see a little bit of shadowing down here, but we're talking upwards of 2.5 to maybe 4 inches of rain in parts of the valley through Monday of next week. Where are we seeing the least amount of rainfall and snow? That's off to the north and east. That is pretty typical around here. All right, so before we get to the snowfall totals, I want to remind you that when it comes to forecasting snow in particular, rain is one thing, and I try not to go too far out with that either. But when it comes to snow, what you'll notice, we may have noticed here on Weather NorCal, I don't give you snow projections and estimates past 3 days. As we're 6 to 8 days out, here's the thing. 6 to 8 days out when we're talking about snow, we're just kind of paying attention. We're observing the fact that there could be the potential for snow. You're seeing a pattern and we're like, okay, let's keep an eye on this. Let's pay attention to this. That's 6 to 8 days out. At this point, I'm not going to show you estimates on snow because we're not even guaranteed to see that snow, right? 4 to 5 days out, now we're looking for consistency. All right, so it's still there, but do the models agree? Timing, intensity? Does it all make sense? So again, even 4 to 5 days out, I'm still not 100% saying, all right, I want to show you estimates because we want to just kind of fine tune a few things. Now, as we go to 2 to 3 days out, which is where we are right now, we start gaining confidence. At this point, now we're saying, all right, if the models agree and it all makes sense, then we can start getting into approximate timing, snow levels, and totals. Now, keep in mind, when you see those snow levels past 4, 5, 6 days, I put them in there as just kind of a common courtesy, here's a general idea. But really, those are probably going to change as we get closer to the time frame as well. So that's when we start giving you some snow totals, but still with a little bit of, just a communication that, we still need to, these numbers will most likely change. Now, as we go to the day of and the day before, it's a call to action. Because now we're looking at more of the specifics. The timing, the location, the overall impacts, will there be chain requirements, the works, right? So that's when we're saying, all right, pretty confident this is going to happen, so now you need to start taking the necessary precautions to make sure you know what's going on. So this is where we are, and we're going to start talking about some snow totals. Now, this is looking at the GFS forecast model. I'm not happy with these colors at all. What I've done here is I put my own numbers in here. So as you can see, I think Mount Shasta from Friday through Monday, especially now, the totals for these communities here, are mainly going to be for Thursday night and Friday, because that's when we see the lowest snow levels, because after that, it's going to be in the form of rain. Okay, so we could see an inch or two, maybe a little bit more out towards Mount Shasta City and even Chester, maybe a trace near Bernie as well as Alturas and Portola. But as you can see, it's not going to be a lot for at least the mountain communities. But as you go into higher elevations, yeah, now you're talking probably a couple of feet of snow. In fact, take a look at the ski park. Through Wednesday of next week, we could see 15 to 30 inches of snow and maybe even more than that. These numbers continue to climb the closer we get to the overall time frame. So just something to kind of take into account. The fact that the ski park is seeing less and less snow. Yes, they've made snow over the last several weeks, but they could certainly use a good dumping of snow. And it looks like this could be the case over several days. All right, let's take a look at your wave heights for tomorrow. They're going to be fairly low, but you'll notice going into Thursday, through the day on Thursday, look what's happening. The wave heights are starting to increase as a storm system approaches. So the wave heights will probably be a bit of a factor for your Friday and through the weekend. So here's your marine forecast. Winds from the southeast at 5 knots. There are your waves. There's your high, your low tide, and there will be that patchy, dense fog as we go through tonight and into tomorrow morning. All right, speaking of tonight, here's what we got here. It's cold again, upper 20s, low 30s in the valley. The calmer winds will keep it fairly cold out there again, although there may be some breezes out towards Chico and into some of the foothills. That's why it might be a little bit warmer for places like Manton and Paradise, Chico, and even Orville. But on the north and west side of the valley, sheltered by the winds, there won't be any winds. It'll be colder there. Teens, 20s for the higher elevations. Look at Alturas. You could possibly even drop down to the single digits again here for tomorrow morning. And then, of course, for the coast, we're seeing some fog, especially, say, Trinidad southward. That fog will eventually make its way to the north end of the coast, say Del Norte County, for example, as we go into the mid and late morning hours tomorrow. All right, here's your Trinity County neighborhood forecast for your Wednesday. Mid to upper 50s for your highs. Dry through Thursday. By Thursday night, you've got the rain moving in. Snow levels starting off around 3,000 feet, but then they'll climb back up, probably even above 5,000 feet, quite honestly, and then maybe a chance for showers as we go into Tuesday. Again, the overall kind of that consistent chance for rain will be Friday through Sunday, even into Monday, but then it looks like, as we saw on Futurecast, things kind of start to dry out a little bit, at least just looking at the chance. Again, we have to kind of fine-tune Monday and Tuesday. Most likely this is going to change, and maybe even Sunday could change as well. But you get the idea. Right now, as of looking at the latest forecast model data, fairly consistent with that rain Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in particular, and possibly even into Monday. 47 for a high tomorrow in Weed, 49 for Wairika, 50 in Fort Jones. There you can see Mount Shasta City, about 53. And for your Wednesday in Modoc County, 45 degrees for Tule Lake, 48 for California Pines, and Alturas, about 50 degrees. Your Eastern Mountains neighborhood forecast, temperatures in the 40s and even some 50s for some of your daytime highs. 45 for Doyle, 52 degrees for Mineral, and Paradise about 52 degrees. Your Valley neighborhood forecast, looking at temperatures in the upper 50s, could touch 60 for some of the warmer spots. We now have a 7-day forecast for Oroville, and there's a reason for that, because now we've got a full screen 7-day forecast for Chico. Chico, you're looking at dry conditions today for tomorrow, that is, and Thursday. And then as you can see, it drops down on Friday, back up. Remember that we're talking about snow levels dropping on Friday? And then they increase. The snow levels are going up for Saturday, Sunday. That's again because it's the warmer subtropical moisture moving in. That's not only going to warm us up a little bit, but it's also going to give us those higher snow levels. All right, let's take a look at your Valley neighborhood forecast to the north. Of course, as you know, brought to you by Walgamuth Painting. Temperatures, upper 50s. Again, some of us could reach 60, 61, but you get the idea here. And of course, there's your 7-day forecast for Red Bluff. Let's take a look at your 7-day forecast for Redding. Upper 50s for tomorrow and Thursday. There are those showers on Friday. We continue with that chance for showers off and on for Saturday, Sunday, even into Monday. Again, we'll be ironing out that is some of the details, especially as we go into early next week. Still some question marks and some inconsistencies in the forecast models for early next week. It could be wetter than what we're seeing. It could be drier. We'll see, but now fairly good confidence in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in particular. That is your evening update. I'll be back again tomorrow morning with the latest forecast and live on Coffee with Krueger at 7 a.m. Have a great night.
Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.